In this movie, we're going to introduce a sum function and use AutoSum to insert the sum function automatically. We'll look at where the AutoSum command button is and talk about the main pitfall that you can run into when you're using AutoSum. We're going to define the three AutoSum rules so you understand how AutoSum is actually working. And then we're going to automatically, simultaneously, AutoSum some rows and columns. So I've got a schedule with some numbers that I've started to sum on the total lines. It's made up numbers for products and cost for those products so I can get a margin. And I've done it using a sum function. We haven't really talked about functions much. We, in a prior movie, mentioned the sum function, but we didn't talk much about it. This is one of about 400 functions that are in Excel. It's the sum function. The way I've utilized it here is I've defined a range of cells that's currently highlighted in blue. I press the F2 key to get it into the edit mode to do that, by the way. I can also, I'm going to escape out of that, double click to get into the edit mode and I get the same result. And a range of cells is defined just as you see it. It's separated by a colon. So we have the cell address C5, colon, cell address C8. So the range includes those cells and every cell in between. And the sum function is just adding up the values. So because summing numbers is such a frequent thing that people do in spreadsheets, Microsoft has built in the AutoSum command button. So I'm going to escape out of that and arrow over one time and show you that the AutoSum command button is located in two places. We're on the Home tab and it's over in the editing group. It's the big sigma, AutoSum. We can actually do other things than just sum, but we'll get to that later on. We can also find it on the Formulas tab, AutoSum. And when I click the AutoSum button, we get a range defined that includes cell D4. Well, that's the second quarter. That's why the number 2 is there. We don't want to include that in the product sales, obviously. So there's a couple of different things I can do to fix this. I can select the sum function and arrow over and change that 4 to a 5. I'm going to change it back to a 4. I can edit it in the formula bar by left-clicking just where I want the cursor to be, backspacing, and change that 4 to a 5. I'm going to change it back to a 4. Or maybe the easiest thing to do is to grab the handle and just resize the range. This brings up the first rule. AutoSum will sum all the numbers in the contiguous range either above or to the left of the active cell until it runs into a blank cell. And that's what it did here. That's why it included the 2. It's a number. Excel doesn't know it's a column heading, so it includes it in the range that it's summing. So I'm going to go down to the cost of sales and input the sum function again by left-clicking the big sigma button. This time, AutoSum doesn't include the 124,000, which is the total sales, or any of the numbers above the 124,000. That brings up the second rule for AutoSum. AutoSum will sum all of the contiguous cells to the left or above the active cell until it runs into the first occurrence of a sum function, which is exactly what it's doing. So I'm going to Control Enter. And I keep saying that AutoSum is going to sum the cells above and to the left. So I'm going to go and sum the total of the product 1 sales for all of the quarters for the year by left-clicking AutoSum. And this brings up the third rule. AutoSum will sum all of the values either above or to the left in the contiguous cells until it runs into a cell with text. So I'm going to Control Enter. So those are the 3 AutoSum rules. Excel provides the ability to sum rows and columns simultaneously, which is exactly what I need to do here. And since I have 2 parts of this schedule, I can do it twice, which is good because there's 2 different ways to do it. The first thing you do is select all the cells that contain the values and the cells that you want the sum to go into. And using those 3 rules, or some of the rules that apply in this area, Excel will input a sum function into the blank cells. And we can do this by either clicking the big sigma button or selecting the lower area using the keyboard shortcut Alt equal. And now we've completed our schedule. So that's the sum function in AutoSum. We introduced the sum function, which is one of about 400 functions in Excel, We talked about the AutoSum command button that inserts the sum function automatically. We talked about the fact that you can run into some issues if you have some numerical column headings. And then we talked about how to adjust the range of cells that are being summed. We went over the 3 AutoSum rules, and then we summed rows and columns simultaneously using the sigma button, this AutoSum button, and the keyboard shortcut Alt=.